Kia ora. That's a Maori greeting. My name is Hemi Newman. I'm from the Ngāti Kahungunu Maori tribe in New Zealand. I'm a Indigenous sustainability expert. I have done 14 sustainability projects over the last 30 years. 3 of them I was supported by the world's #1 sustainability expert, Professor Peter Newman from Perth here, which is where I'm located. Peter's agreed to support me on yet another one, a sustainability project, which is the first. It's a top secret Sustainable Nation Building Industry Conference being live streamed from the top of a skyscraper in Perth all around the world using virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality and hologram technologies, where we'll be beaming the speakers in, world-leading speakers in from around the world using hologram technologies as we live stream as webinars all around the world to Indigenous leaders and also political leaders throughout the frontier and emerging markets that we want to do business with. Now, for Indigenous peoples, in this network, you see, being a black fella, I penetrated all of these very, very high profile international banking and commerce, right, even right through to Merrill Lynch with the Martin Fridson, the chairman of Merrill Lynch, the banking and investment division of the Bank of America, sent me an email asking for an update on our sustainable cities in paradise. How about that? We're Indigenous. Why is Martin Fridson asking me for an update? And interestingly, Martin, is the chairman of Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch built Wall Street. Wall Street is 1,000 times bigger than the Australian Stock Exchange with all its minerals here. Australia's nothing in the big world of big business. So when you're dealing at this high level with people like Martin Fridson and he wants what we got, that's telling you something, isn't it? When the #1 in the world for sustainability, and by the way, sustainability is the buzzword in business and banking, you name it, everybody is using the word sustainability. #1 profession on the planet. We're the ones that can build the economies, build the villages and cities in a sustainable way without fossil fuels or automobiles. How about that? And that's what Martin Fridson's interested in what we're doing. Going throughout the frontier and emerging markets, starting with Africa. So now, look, in the world of business, like I was advising, not advising, I was working with a friend of mine that had the big contracts for providing produce, fresh produce, like cabbages and potatoes and all that, into China. And the thing he said that when you do this, you've got to make sure that you have the buyers at the other end that can buy your product before you start selling or growing it. Because if you've got no market, you've got nothing. So the key is to have the market. So what I'm saying to you, all our brothers and sisters, you, Indigenous peoples, have all the vital resources. All right? Now, why am I telling you this? Well, if you have the vital resources and then you have the buyers lined up, you can do, well, I'll tell you some secrets here because I got inside the industry. You can do what our brothers are doing with the lithium, right? As long as you've got the buyers, right, you can get paid up front, because I know our brothers here, up north here in Australia, they got all the lithium on their lands, right? And I'm telling them, no, this is what you do. Volkswagen paid the lithium producers, not our brothers and sisters with the lithium, but the lithium producers, right? $300 billion upfront payment. It's already paid. They're sitting on that 300 billion, right, to tie up lithium. Why would Volkswagen, an automobile company, pay 300 billion upfront before they received even 1 ounce of lithium? Answer: because they know that the future relies on lithium. If you have the lithium that is needed for the wind turbines, for the car batteries, right, for the storage batteries, for any community, you can control the world. Forget about petrol. You don't need petrol, you can walk. But you do need electricity, right? To run your internet, to run your mobile, charge your mobile phones, everything else. You don't need a motor vehicle, especially us Indigenous people living out in the wilderness. We rather use the canoe or walk. So, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this, my brother, so you darn will get ripped off where the manufacturers of lithium make all the money and pay you pittance for your lithium. You talk to us. We'll show you and link you to those who want to buy the lithium, right? Because I'm in the business of sustainable nation building. We build nations. We guide and direct the political leaders how to eliminate fossil fuels and automobiles by building sustainable cities on the sides of the rivers using monorails running off the river in a figure-8 formation and adjacent for 2 loops and adjacent to the river, again in figure-8 formation, and putting on the monorail system compact communities with 5 10-story high buildings per community. I'll go into that another time. You can just watch my videos that explain it. We have beautiful PowerPoint presentations that will absolutely blow you away when you see how we do it. We're dropping the monorails into the bush using heavy lift helicopters, so we don't displace any wildlife. We don't cut any roads in the bush. And we do environmental impact studies before we clear an area about the size of a footy field, and we relocate all the wildlife, you know, from lizards to little animals and suspended bee nests, beehives, smoke them out and relocate them to another part of the forest. And then we clear fell. So we have less than 1% impact on a tropical forest in your lands, and no automobiles anywhere, no automobile infrastructure. And so that saves you billions of dollars in building your nation, all right? But listen, I'm going a bit off track here. I want to get through to you, Indigenous people who had the lithium, right, and the resources. Speak to us. We will negotiate on your behalf with the automobile industries, and actually, in fact, it's not the automobile industries you want to talk to, right? It's the wind turbines. It's the manufacturers of lithium products that need the lithium and rare earth materials. They're the ones we need to link you to and to get paid up front. Not only that, I'm going to teach you about growth equity, which is what all the rich do. Is having equity in the supply chains. Don't just supply the lithium, for example. No, you need to get cross-holdings, ownership, part ownership, right, in the automobile companies that are going to use your lithium, right? Anybody who's got a battery, you need to make sure you're getting a cut of everything they're making, all right? We'll set you out with that. We'll help you right out, because we are absolutely sick of being betrayed by non-Indigenous people, being ripped off, deceived, lied to. They set up in New Zealand an organisation called the Maori Affairs, and all us Maoris, oh, that's our government representatives for us Maoris. They took my family, my mum and her 2 siblings, sold 24,000 acres of land for 1963 for 1 shilling an acre. That entire area has been built up. How much did we lose? And what the government had in there were these crooked Maoris representing Maoridom, who convinced my mum and her siblings to sell that land at 1 shilling an acre, and being old and Indigenous, they had no perception of money. I saw the original documents, I'm not making the story up. This is how the white man works in ripping us off. We do not want you to be deceived. We do not want you to be ripped off. We want you to have cross-holdings and anything to do with lithium, all right? And you choose who you supply to. Do not sign any contracts until you talk to us. We'll bring in the lawyers, decent lawyers, that will talk to you. We'll show you how to do a business plan, a strategic plan, and a marketing plan, okay? And then you have that, take that back to your tribe, make decisions on it, where you want to move. We're here to help you. And look, you Indigenous peoples throughout Africa and around the world, you can check us Maoris out, our background, what we've done in the past for the last 40 years, travelling all around the world, sharing the secrets to our Indigenous brothers, helping them to do what we did, which was to get our land back. But our Maori people have been ripped off, even by the government, and you know, it's time for change, and the way to change is through education and knowledge. Being a professional in my field, I was able to get into all the big corporations in the international banking and commerce to find these secrets. I studied and learned about Japanese lean production because I'm an aeronautical engineer and an automotive engineer by profession. I have the same wealth profile as Sir Richard Branson, also Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, Steve Jobs, and Walt Disney. We, with our wealth profile, are able to multitask across many different products, businesses, and also industries at the same time. We are the masterminds, but we are no good at doing business, so we bring in what we call the deal makers and the mechanics who systemize everything that we do. So we create new products, new businesses, new industries, and we get it to market. Having that experience, I'm able to share with you because of my 30 years involvement in sustainability and being in close with Professor Peter Newman, Ali Saeed from the Director General of the World Renewable Energy Networks. Look, we know the industries, we know the future, and we know people like Harry Dent who knows when the stock market's going to crash at the end of this year. So you need to know how to capitalise on that as well. You're sitting on lithium, you know, they paid $300 billion to the producers, but they didn't pay it to our Indigenous brothers. That is wrong. That is indecent. Let's change the ball game, my friends. Us Maoris came into Australia. We helped our Noongar nation, right, to get their radio, Noongar radio up and running. We helped the Noongar nation to rebuild their nation. We helped other Aboriginal tribes, right? And my CEO, who's taken over my company, he speaks 7 Indigenous languages. How do you get to speak 7 Indigenous languages? You do it by looking after them. You do it by becoming a part of their community, by being accepted, by wanting to learn their culture. That's what he did. So he's taken over my corporation. I'm moving into the virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and the hologram technologies with our live streaming of our virtual reality music concerts, but I won't go there because that's taking us off. What I'm here to say is do not sign any contracts with anybody until you talk to us. We will help you, we'll give you guidance and direction to make sure that you benefit from what we call growth equity on steroids. So all the manufacturing supply chains, the first tier supply, second tier supply, make sure you get a cut out of all those supply chains because you can, all right? And remember what I said, my friend that was supplying all the massive contracts into China, the Chinese buyers told him exactly how many tons of potatoes, how many tons of cabbages, how many tons of onions and everything else, and he just grew to their demand, what they wanted, all right? Whereas the competitors were growing everything and had no market to sell. So you need the market. There is a market for lithium. Lithium is needed for the batteries and cars and you know, your mobile phones and the wind turbines. So if you, my brothers, own the lithium, we can get the money into your bank accounts tomorrow and you control the world, right? Because you got the lithium. Because the coal industry is going under, because we know, because we're Maoris, we're linked in with the Hells Angels and all the underworld. They're cutting up the railway tracks that carry coal all around the world every 3 days. There'll be another load of the train derailments, and beside the track are all these rappers rapping about all their Indigenous injustices and human rights abuses and going through our sacred sites. How about that, eh? But the chop saws have already been positioned out there ready to cut those tracks up and to kill the coal industry. When they kill the coal industry, all you've got left is what? Wind turbines and solar panels, and that, my brothers, is where the money is in the future, okay? Now, that's the thing about being Maoris. You know, you can pick your friends, just can't pick your rallies. Our rallies just have to be bad boys like with the Hells Angels and all the other bad boys around the planet. They're cutting those railway tracks up. But it's actually the rappers who are going to make the most money, because they're going to be standing beside the railway tracks rapping about all the injustice, rapping about the going through the sacred sites and justifying the need to cut those railway tracks up. And the thing about these super rich, when they went through our sacred sites, they had no respect for our Indigenous brothers. And us as Indigenous peoples, we know what a sacred site means. And at some stage, the spirits are going to say, it's time to cut those tracks up at the worst possible time in human history. And you know what our rappers are doing? They're doing all the videos standing already in the studios, the music ready to put out there online when all the hip-hop music industry genres are going to be watching them standing beside the railway tracks as these coal trains go hurtling off the tracks over viaducts and stuff, and there's a crazy Maori rapper standing there rapping. There's a rap song. 83% of the users of Spotify are into hip hop, gangster rap. Now tell me, how famous are they going to be when they get seen on them in social media, standing beside this track as this blooming big train is hurtling off the track? You got this stupid Maori standing there rapping off the top of his head, freestyling or whatever. No, well-produced songs about cutting up the tracks. So I think I'll be doing that every 3 days. Another 20 train derailments being uploaded to social media every 3 days to keep the focus on Agenda 21. So just go and watch Agenda 21 and see how our Maori underworld reacted to watching Agenda 21, Rosa Kior, Agenda 21 exposed. And then ask yourself, after you finish watching it, how will the underworld respond? And I'm telling you how they are responding. They are furious, and they are cutting up the railway tracks that carry coal every 3 days to be another 20 uploaded all around the world to social media. It's all been done through the dark web. And when you have a look at my videos and you see that green wall that I'm standing in front of, that was painted by the creator of the dark web, who I introduced to the boys. And they were all fuming, and so was she, and so were the hackers. They've been hacking all the websites of the governments to crash them. And as part of Agenda, talking about bad boys, there's a Harley just went past. So talking about bad boys, you don't threaten the underworld in owning everything they own, right? In owning their food, and controlling their families, and starving them to death, which is what Agenda 21 is about, without expecting a response. And the response is they're cutting up those railway tracks, 20 derailments every 3 days, continuously, until every railway track around the world that carries coal is cut up, which means what? Blackouts in all the towns and cities that use coal-fired power production, which is 45% of greenhouse gas emissions. When all those coal industry is destroyed, there's 45% greenhouse gas emissions rectified. Stabilises the climate system, doesn't it? But here's the good news for our brothers who have the lithium. There's only going to be one real energy source of value, and that's going to be wind turbines and anything that makes renewable energy. That's where the money is in the future. So our brothers, you're sitting on the lithium, make sure you get 300 billion up front We'll get our Maori deal makers to get you, my brothers, the best deal. We're not here to rip you off, my brothers. Us Maori's been helping you fellas out for a long, long time. And we're going to do it again. Except we're coming from the top level, called Sustainable Nation Building Industry. We'll link you up with the buyers that need them. And the buyers, my friends, are not automobiles. Forget about that. The buyers are the manufacturers of the wind turbines that will be used in our sustainable cities and paradise throughout the frontier and emerging markets. It will also be the wind turbines and photovoltaics and everything else that we need for the sustainable villages for our